So, without further presentation, I mentioned earlier the West End Preservation Society, which have been instrumental in this district, in this proposal. And I wanted to call first, I see in the back, Richard Emery, to be the first witness for this in this hearing. Richard is the president of the West End Preservation Society.
Thank you very much, Chair Chairman. Appreciate your welcome and your work. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Richard Emery, and I am president and co-founder of the West End Preservation Society, and I'm speaking on behalf of the West End Preservation Society today. The Society strongly supports the proposed designation of the Riverside West End Historic District Extension. As noted by this Commission in December of 1989, the designation of the Riverside West End Historic District in 1989, quote, among its important qualities, the Riverside West End Historic District is defined by a remarkably large concentration of architecturally distinctive and unspoiled examples of residential buildings of high quality. That these residential buildings are characteristic of the development of the Upper West Side, west of Broadway during the period from 1884 to 1939, and that the district encompasses a number of residential building types representing different phases of development. The West End Preservation Society heartily agrees with the past findings of this commission and believes that the same reasoning reinforced by the conclusions of Andrew Dolkart's exceptional study, the West End Avenue Survey, previously submitted to the commission, supports the extension of the boundaries in the way that have been proposed by the staff and the staff's excellent work. This district extension embodies the special character and historic and aesthetic interest that defines a historic district in our view. Step out into West End Avenue at 79th Street and just look north sometime. I would urge you all to do that. And you're treated to a vista which illustrates what we call, I think, and what is known in the world of historic preservation as a, quote, sense of place. It has a sense of place that is unique in New York, maybe in the world. The two major development phases of West End Avenue are visually described in the architecture you see. The brownstones dating back to 1886 and the Beaux-Arts French flats from 1898 alongside a bounty of harmonious apartment buildings designed by preeminent architects working in Manhattan at the beginning of the 20th century, most of whom have been mentioned here, including Pelham, Schwartz and Gross, Neville and Baggs, and many of the other buildings already enjoying landmark status along that same stretch you see when you look north. That is the portion that is of this proposed historic district which is being considered today, north to 86th and 87th, and within the confines of what we see on the board. This sense of place also embodies the human experience, and as author Ken Ryden describes it, quote, the place has become a shaping partner in our lives. We partially define ourselves in its terms, and it carries the emotional charge of a family member. And I suggest to you that West End Avenue satisfies just that notion, that it's a family environment, it's a culture of its own that's unique to the city, that is created by the cultural history of its geography. The Riverside West End Historic District Extension is most definitely such a place with a sense of place. Broadway, with its historic apartment houses and the 1890s First Baptist Church, West End Avenue, designed as the commercial-free residential zone and boulevard, first with single-family row houses and then revisited with the grand apartment buildings. Riverside, conceived by Olmsted, its magnificent homes, a graceful arc following the Hudson River, are what we are attempting to preserve with this cultural and historic effort. Join those values with all the cross streets that connect these boulevards, which include some of the most historically and aesthetically significant townhouses on the Upper West Side by architects such as Clarence True and Gilbert, who have been mentioned. And together they weave an astounding tapestry of not just architecture, but a story of daily life and family life on the Upper West Side. Remove any one part and you irrevocably destroy the bigger picture. That is the reality we are facing today. Now, there's no question change is inevitable. It's going to happen. When transformations do take place, we need our neighborhoods to have the protection and guidance of this commission through its landmark designation. That's why we are here, to avail ourselves of the authority within the city charter that this commission has to protect this cultural heritage, notwithstanding the fact that change is inevitable and welcome in many respects. So that residents standing on West End Avenue at 79th Street in the year 2100 will feel the same strength and vitality and the same sense of home that has been enjoyed on these streets since the late 1800s. Thankfully, you have the power to make that happen, and we urge you to make that happen. The West End Preservation Society is proud to stand with our neighbors, fellow preservationists, the elected officials from throughout the city, and especially in our neighborhood, the Upper West Side community groups, to support this designation entirely. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you. And we have now Gale Brewer, Councilwoman Gale Brewer, represents this district. And welcome her to the podium.
Thank you very much, Chairman Tierney. I am Gale Brewer. I represent the Upper West Side, and I'm here to testify in support of the designation. I really want to thank you, though, for all the work that you did in researching and reviewing the extensive architectural heritage that makes up the proposed Riverside West End Historic District extension. Like Park Avenue, West End Avenue is one of the city's most physically unified and distinctive residential avenues. As Richard said earlier, it captures intact a key period in the early 20th century New York City architecture, when a rising, family-based middle class established a large urban apartment house as an icon of American life. A significant number of West End buildings were designed by prominent architects, and you've named them. I have a few here, but you know them better than I do. And they create a unique ensemble of multi-family buildings, a vision of modern urban living, and a grand avenue almost untouched by physical alteration. And you heard about WEPS, as we call the West End Preservation Society fondly, these wonderful neighbors who commissioned the survey of the avenue by Andrew Scott Zulfer, whom you know well as a leading architectural historian, and with Landmark West and the Historic District Council, the New York Landmarks Conservancy, Community Board 7, and others. They published this report that brings us here today. And that review of the architectural and historical merit of the buildings along the avenue makes a compelling case for why the avenue in its entirety deserves historic district designation. It affirms what was already known to me, to the residents, to the businesses, to the visitors, to tourists, which is that the buildings that line West End Avenue comprise an exceptionally uniform, cohesive streetscape of buildings that create, as again was stated earlier, a sense of place. And I think one of the aspects that is sometimes forgotten is that when a designation takes place and is instituted, LPC works closely with the property owners to provide expertise and guidance on proposed alterations. So does New York Landmarks Conservancy, and I know this because I live in a building that I renovated as part of the Central Park Historic District, and I work in a district office that I renovated as part of the historic district. In fact, it's so loved by the owner of the building that the other storefronts in that area are now similar to ours. Landmark status is economically beneficial to neighborhoods. We have lots of studies that you know well to that effect. And obviously there are also environmental benefits. These buildings work as an ensemble, creating a strong, unified and mutually insulating structure, conserves energy and helps protect building exteriors. Sustainability is more than just green buildings and LEED certification. It includes the preservation and maintenance of existing buildings, in my opinion. We've gotten hundreds of letters and very few against the preservation of this neighborhood. I think that change obviously always has to take place, but if it's demolition through demolition, it can be intrusive and produce a non-contextual development. I'm particularly concerned about the future of the brownstones that are snuggled in between the larger buildings. Several have been lost in recent years, and I fear that most or some will be demolished if the area is not protected. Just yesterday, my staff met with Community Board 7, CS 75, and the residents of West 96th Street to discuss the recent demolition of brownstones and the construction problems that will come, have come, and are coming regarding the Sliver building where the brownstones used to stand. If parts of West End Avenue from 70th to 109th Street meet the criteria for historic district designation, then the avenue side streets, major cross streets, and most of Riverside Drive and the west side of Broadway do as well. I agree with the West 80s Neighborhood Association that the Gilbert townhouses on West 86th Street should be part of the district, and you'll see from them an example of a good study that was second and agree with what I'm stating. So again, I wholeheartedly applaud the LPC staff for their openness, research, and diligence on behalf of the proposed designation. In addition to today's hearing, you are also conducting 2 more sessions, June and October, to ensure that the views of all stakeholders are considered. And of course, in addition, as a result of your diligence, the City Council will conduct 3 sets of hearings as part of the process. I can't wait for those. In summary, I'm delighted that the proposed designation is now before the Commission, and I urge you to extend and expand the proposed designation to preserve the entire West End Avenue corridor, along with the adjacent side streets, Riverside Drive, and the west side of Broadway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you for being here, for your leadership, not only on this, but in so many things that are of such importance to your community. I appreciate greatly working with you and your staff. Rachel E. Stein next, for representing Assemblywoman Rosenthal. Is she here? We got maybe in the back. Yes, please, Rachel. And you'll notice on the sign-in sheet there is a 3-minute rule. We'll try to keep it at least 3, maybe lower, since there are a lot of people. Do what you can. Try to summarize. Gale actually did some. She knows how to do it. She did some great summarizing. And I have the text and I followed it, but I appreciate that, and that'll help us move things along. Thank you.
Hi, thank you all. I'll do my best to keep it as short as possible. My name is Rachel Stein. I'm here on behalf of Assemblymember Linda B. Rosenthal. So I'll be reading this from her perspective. Good afternoon. I'm happy to have the opportunity to comment today. As the Assembly Member for New York's 67th Assembly District, representing Manhattan's Upper West Side and parts of Hell's Kitchen/Clinton, a proud member of the West End Preservation Society, WEPS, and a lifetime resident of the neighborhood, I fully support landmark designation of the proposed Riverside West End Historic District Extension 1. Today, the portion stretching from West 79th Street to West 87th Street is under consideration, and I believe approval of the proposal is crucial to preserving the aesthetic, charm, and historic importance of this area. I'm proud to have been among the earliest supporters of the efforts of the West End Preservation Society, which grew out of concern for the need to preserve the distinguished architecture on the avenue at a time when some of the structures were being threatened with demolition. It all began in July 2007 in the living room of one of WEP's founders, Richard Emery, with co-founder Erica Peterson, a neighborhood resident, and a handful of others. WEPS has since flourished into a force to be reckoned with in the preservation world. For several years, WEPS has worked to develop community and governmental support to have West End Avenue, the almost 40-block boulevard comprising architecturally and historically significant buildings, designated a historic district. The Landmarks Preservation, LPC, wisely decided to augment the area that was documented by Andrew Dolgart of Columbia University for WEPS by studying the significance of buildings on side streets and then adding them as borders to the proposed historic district. I support including these additions in the district. The proposed Riverside West End Historic District Extension 1 contains numerous architecturally significant apartment buildings and brownstones dating from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. One of the unique qualities of the avenue is its incredibly long stretch of pre-war buildings that is unseen anywhere else in the city. The West End Avenue thoroughfare is renowned for its mostly unbroken street wall of apartment buildings built in complementary architectural styles. The apartment buildings are unique in the city because of their composite structure, and although none date before the 19th century, the buildings feature architectural flourishes that hark back to the Italian Renaissance and the Second French Empire. This district would be a logical extension to other landmark districts farther uptown. The LPC has decided to include a stretch of 86th Street from just west of Broadway to just east of Riverside Drive in the district, encompassing the townhouses located on the south side of West 86th Street between Broadway and West End Avenue, designed by CPH Gale Brewer. I support the designation of these French neo-Renaissance style townhouses, as do many of my constituents. I respect the judgment of the LPC in choosing to include these buildings in the district. In an ever-changing city, the consistency of facades along West End Avenue, Riverside Drive, and Broadway warrants protection. If we do not preserve areas of historic value, we leave them open to projects that do not complement the neighborhood's character and charm. In recent years, the cohesive appearance of the corridor has faced threats of new inappropriate construction and development. In creating this district, we would not only preserve the unified appearance of the neighborhood, but the unity of the community itself. As a lifelong Upper West Sider, I have seen our neighborhood change over time in many ways. I remember gazing up at the gargoyles and admiring the different textures and colors of masonry of the different buildings along West End Avenue as a child. I was awed by these pretty buildings, but of course did not understand their importance. Now as an adult, I understand that I'm looking at historically noteworthy and architecturally significant decoration. Looking above the unwavering street wall, my eye is drawn to the complex composition of mansard roofs, steeples, and projected cornices that provide me with a view our ancestors could have gazed upon. It would be an indignity to interrupt this vista with unsympathetic and incongruous sheets of glass and cement. I want future generations to feel the same sense of wonder and marvel that I had as a child and experienced today while looking at West End Avenue and Riverside Drive. I believe that designating this stretch as a historic district perfectly complements our greater vision for the city and will preserve the unique beauty of this area for years to come. I offer my complete support for the Riverside West End Historic District, and I ask the LPC approve the proposed blocks for landmark designation. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Councilmember Melissa Mark Adriano. Melissa, she's not sure she is here. If she is, certainly you come up. But I'll call Jared, representing Tom Duane, Jared Chasson. Tom Duane's rep here?
They are, second.
Okay, just a matter of getting people from the other room. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jared Chasson. I do work for State Senator Tom Duane. Unfortunately, he's in Albany. I guess he can't be here today, so I'll be delivering a statement on his behalf. My name is Thomas K. Duane, and I represent New York State's 29th Senate District, in which most of the proposed Riverside West End Historic District Extension 1 is located. Thank you for the opportunity to present testimony before the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission regarding this remarkable concentration of historic buildings. First, I would like to express my appreciation to LTC for moving forward with the consideration of the extension, which is generally bounded by West 79th Street and West 87th Street along portions of West End Avenue, Riverside Drive, and Broadway. A study of this area conducted by Andrew Dolkart, a leading architectural historian and director of Columbia University's Historic Preservation Program, found that its buildings have unique architectural and historic merit. The proposed historic district captures a relatively short, significant window of time in late 19th century and early 20th century architecture. During this period, economic and social forces, largely a result of the introduction of service on the revolutionary Inter-Borough Rapid Transit subway line beneath Broadway in 1904, contributed to the redevelopment of West End Avenue and Riverside Drive from low-rise row houses amidst rural landscapes to an enduring chain of grand apartment buildings. Designed by prominent architects like George F. Pelham, Schwartz and Gross, and Clinton and Russell, these buildings are among the finest examples of New York City's early 20th century multifamily dwellings, form a cohesive and uniquely New York model for upper middle-class living. As Dolkart describes, the buildings on the avenues create a tremendous sense of place, with consistent height, cladding materials, and build-out to the lot line. Nestled between these are the neo-Gothic St. Ignatius Protestant Episcopal Church and the stunning and unique Church of St. Paul and St. Andrew. Dolkart's findings make a compelling case for the extension presentation. Unfortunately, the voracious New York real estate market, if left unchecked, poses a serious threat to this cohesive stand of historic architecture. Already, neo-Renaissance row houses at 732 and 734 West End Avenue, located in the proposed Riverside West End Historic District Extension 2 to the north, have been demolished, and the site's owner has obtained a permit for the new from DOB to construct a tall residential building there that will likely not conform to the area's aesthetic character. This same owner has also sought permits to demolish row houses at 508 and 510 West End Avenue, which are located in the extension under consideration today, although these permits have not to date been granted. These cases illustrate the risk of leaving critical portions of New York's architectural history unprotected. It is essential that LPCX now designates the Riverside West End Historic District Extension 1 in its entirety. Thank you for your consideration of my comments and your admirable commitment to preserving New York City's heritage. I look forward to submitting testimony again at LPC's upcoming hearing on the Riverside West End Historic District Extension 2 and the West End Collegiate Historic District
Okay.
Extension.
Thank you. Is Melissa Martin-Rito here or a representative? If not, if that happens, you can come up any time. Ben Schachter, State Senator Espaillat. No?
No, he's coming.
Okay, good. And then we'll have Michael Henry Adams, who's representing Senator Perkins.
Hi, my name is Ben Schachter, and I'm here representing State Senator Adriano Espaillat, who's in Albany today. Hello, and thank you for allowing me to testify before you this afternoon. As the newly elected state senator for the 31st District in New York, I am proud to express my support for the proposed Riverside Drive West End Historic District. Today's hearing concerns the first phase of this project, which runs from West 79th Street to West 82nd Street. It has only been with the help and hard work of many community activists that a West End Historic District is a possibility. The Upper West Side is fortunate to have groups such as the West End Preservation Society, Landmark West, Coalition for the West Side, West A's Association, and many other groups that have come together and fought over the last several years. I commend these organizations for the work they have done. The study commissioned by WEPS, conducted by Andrew Delcart for Columbia University, looked at each and every one of the 218 buildings that line the West End. As he writes, these 73 block fronts create an extraordinarily cohesive streetscape. The study allows us to better understand and appreciate our surroundings. As anyone who's ever stood these avenues can attest, the buildings along these 37 blocks contain a magnificent view. Not only is there continuity and symmetry of detail, there's a window into our past. We must preserve this history and foster a greater appreciation for it by creating this historic district. The buildings to be designated in Extension 1 were mostly constructed in the last years of the 19th century and the first 2 decades of the 20th. The architects who created this section of our community were the best of their day. Having been trained all over the world, they brought with them a variety of styles, from Schwartz and Gross, Neville and Beck, Helen and Heo. Their buildings carry influences from across Europe, the Italian Renaissance, Romanesque detail, Byzantine style, as well as Gothic. There are a few buildings along the first proposed extension which deviate from the continuous field of the avenue. One exception that does exist, a 30-year-old high-rise on West 81st Street. Standing at 21 stories, it's significantly larger than the others near it. Relative to other buildings in the block, Delcart's description makes clear that it lacks the dynamic features to be found on its neighbors. This is in contrast to the original All Saints Episcopal Church, which was completed on the same site in 1890. The community surely misses the opportunity to observe its new Gothic facade. We must continue to fight to prevent losing any more of these buildings. We must also prevent carve-outs within the district as is already proposed by the Landmarks Preservation Commission. There is no doubt that stunning architecture can be found across New York City, and it would be my wish to enable work similar to that by Mr. Delcart and his organizations to be done all over the city. A similar large-scale historic district exists on Central Park, therefore the precedent exists for protecting such a large area. Doing so would provide a framework on how to better maintain buildings that warrant preservation, protect those who live in the avenues today, and allow all of us to enjoy the collective history of the city. I fully support this proposal, and I respectfully request the Landmark Preservation Commission approve Extension 1 in its current form, creating a historic district.
Okay, thank you. Michael Henry Adams, representing Senator Perkins.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Henry Adams, representing State Senator Bill Perkins from the 30th District of New York State Senate. And Senator Perkins, of course, reiterates everything that everyone has already said several times. But what add that's unique is that we've heard about George Pelham, we've heard about Blum and Blum and Clarence True, and these architects have also designed buildings in other parts of the West Side and throughout Morningside Heights and throughout Harlem. And so the senator urges the commission, as they have properly done in this instance. You know, the commission, who would have thought it 20 years ago, the commission would be going out designating buildings in far-flung Queens and Staten Island, the Bronx. And now they're going to those places, but they are also properly coming back to places they've been before, like the West Side. Actually, this proposed historic district in its entirety is not within the senator's district. But we are here because not only is Arlene Simon so persuasive, Landmark West such an exemplary group, but also because we see the precedent of what's being done here to give one particular part of the city something equivalent to the full measure of the protection that it deserves as something that we would like to see replicated in other parts of the city. And we say that with the background of the commission coming to Harlem 20 years ago and Lori Buckman saying that 25 buildings that were being proposed for designation in Harlem were an opening salvo. Well, to date, of those 25 buildings, they have not all been heard by the commission. And one of them has been removed from the calendar, and a proposal has been made by a local community board to remove yet another. And we, of course, see this as a horrible, horrible precedent in terms of landmarking in the city. And so we urge the commission, in this instance, and in instances in the future, to give all neighborhoods their day in court at the Landmarks Preservation Commission to be heard and voted up or down for the merits that they have in enhancing our city and making it the greatest city in the world, as this historic district certainly does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
And one further thing. What the senator would like to see happen would be a greater collaboration between all of these groups and all the elected officials so that people in Queens and other places who are not as well organized as people on the West Side are better aware of all the positive benefits of landmarking, including a 20% investment tax credit for both homeowners and for commercial properties in the state of New York, which so far has not been cut from the budget and is good for projects for up to $4 million. So if people in Queens knew about this, I think that they would be more enthusiastic about having their properties landmarked. And this really is something which is going to be a benefit to people all over the city and now on Upper West Side more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Howard Seaman.